Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Neurocalm Fatigue Summit. I'm delighted to have with me today Dr. Silvia Binder, who has an incredible story and an incredible mission. She's the founder of the Binder Institute for Personalized Medicine in southern Germany and the CEO of the OnDemed companies in New York and Germany. And she had a motorbike accident at the age of 15, put her in a coma for 21 days, and she was announced clinically dead 5 times. She then spent her 16th year of life recuperating and stuck in a wheelchair, and her life changed dramatically by gaining a form of heightened awareness. She then had an issue with her son's health, which she treated with OnDemed, which fueled her passion for complementary medicine, and she's gone on to do incredible things, developing a whole protocol for personalized medicine. And Silvia, welcome. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna. It's great to be with you. And I have gotten to know you a little bit over the past months, and it's been a true pleasure and honor. And I'm as excited as you are, I guess. And this is all about education, empowerment, and spreading our compassion, understanding, and love. And all hovering on a beautiful word, benevolence.
That is absolutely stunning, and it's been delightful to get to know you too, a genuine privilege. Now, Silvia, I would love you to tell people a little bit more about that incredible personal story. And in particular, I know that you place enormous emphasis on intuition in your work, and I'd love you to share about that.
Thank you. So I led a normal life. I was born in Germany, grew up in Vienna, Austria. We were a poor people. And so you would think of Vienna, oh, it's a beautiful city and everything is beautiful and aristocratic, but that is only for a few. And so I grew up in a very poor home. And there were, of course, challenges with divorced parents and being separated from my brothers who continued to grow up with my father in Germany. And I was just a lost teenager at 15. And so I had this motorcycle accident, which put me into a coma for 21 days. Back then, a coma was not survivable beyond 5 days. They didn't have the technologies yet. But my anesthesiologist, who was my leading physician, he did not go on vacation with his family. He chose to be by my bedside. His name was Dr. Walter Maurits. I don't know if he's even alive today. But he had a friend in the United States who worked with Respironics. And they had just come out with a new product. Dr. Chet, I think, was responsible for the development. They sent that over to the University Hospital in Vienna, and I was the first patient there to try. And they were able to sustain my life on this respirator for 21 days, which was unheard of, and it was a miracle in the field of medicine back in 81 or 82 it was. So coming out of this dream of being dead, being on stage, almost like a movie. I was in the cave, seeing the light. I was connected. I was part of everything there is. And there's no language, there's no words we can describe. But it is a very beautiful place that I believe is within us. Not only in the multiverses, but that beauty that yogis and Buddhists and other teachers have been trying to convey to us. I think that is the same place. It's just mirroring on the outside what is on the inside. And there's always music playing when you're I call it on the other side of the veil. So coming out of that and really recalibrating my entire life. There is a book that is called Walk-ins, and it talks about changing that which is inside of you. I don't know that I agree with that, but it's an interesting concept. From there on, my whole life was on purpose. I changed as a human being. I changed by having intention, by having purpose, by not being a good student to becoming one of the best students in Austria. So it did something to me, and most importantly, I became so aware. I had awoken to a new me and that which is around me, and it became very obvious that I wanted to move to an English-speaking country. I wanted to speak English more than German, and so Frank Sinatra with his songs, New York, My Way, he helped me listening to his music. And so I moved to New York, and so intuition became part of what was my compass. I had never been to the States, nor did I ask to move to the States. I just wanted to speak English more than German, and I wanted to break away from this aristocratic social dilemma that we still are living in Vienna, Austria, and I'm sure in many other places. So it was not until I had my two children, and my second child is my first son, Randy, and he was born with congenital heart disease. So I was still, I had a degree in business. I was in the semiconductor industry after being in the music industry, always business, entrepreneurial, with a vision and a mission. But my life changed. I had now given birth to my third child, Benjamin. And while my son was now 5 years old, he had open heart surgery at the age of 2 to fix his congenital heart disease. And they did great, brilliant work at the Children's Hospital in Boston. It wasn't until him being 5 years old that he developed a thrombus in his heart, right on the heart valve. And all the hospitals, all the good physicians I've been seeing, they will prescribe coagulation or anticoagulation medication, which we administered for almost 3 months, and it did not work. When you take anticoagulants, you have to go through INR blood tests every week to see if you are in balance with the medication. And he never was. I have it all documented. And so it was not until that time, I had 1 more week, until the cardiac surgeon would have again done open heart surgery at Children's Hospital in Boston. And so it was at that point when Rolf Binder came into my life, and he brought the machine, the on-the-med device. It's sitting right there, behind me, and I didn't know what this was. I wasn't in the field of medicine other than being a patient with my critical situation. I was 15, and I can tell you, intuition includes not only listening to the information coming from the void, or what I prefer to call it, the knowing. Meaning there is, just like your phone uploads, downloads information, it is the same with our humanity, our being, our consciousness of being able to upload and download information at any time. Nobody is special, unique. It is just a matter of agreeing to whatever it is that you're feeling, sensing, hearing. There's different ways of downloading, and giving it honor and respect, and then do something productively with it. So this device on-the-med, to give that bridge of why I'm deviating to intuition, not only do things outside of me talk to me in terms of knowledge or the knowing, or people, or animals and trees, but also buildings and cars, they have an energy too. That might sound very strange, and I find it very funny listening to myself. But this machine ornament was talking to me. It said, Silvia, come on, use me. It's time, use me. I didn't know what to do with this device, but I started using it with help of Dr. Kessler and Rolf, who was in Germany, and he had just, dropped off the device, and we opened up the New York company so that I would start to promote this medical device in the United States. And so I used it on my son 3 times, 15 minutes each, palpating the pulse, a special method, and personalizing extremely low frequencies that can surpass chemical processes and actually help to recalibrate communication pathways and et cetera, et cetera. So we go back on that Monday morning that was going to be decided of whether and when to plan the open heart surgery for him. And it was the first time in 3 months that his INR, the blood test, came back to be in a balanced situation, meaning that he was in therapeutic response to the blood thinning medication, Coumadin. And the only thing I did, I was adding Ondamet. Very little stimulation, 15 minutes, 3 sessions over a week. So when the cardiologist, I was on the phone with him, Dr. Fulton, he said, okay, what are you doing? Now we have a good result. I said, well, I'm adding an electromagnetic field device. I was nervous about adding it, but so I took it to Westchester Medical Center before I started, because I'm a scientist at heart, and I didn't want to harm my child because it's electromagnetic. He had a pacemaker put in after the surgery. So I had the pediatric cardiologist, I had a technician who was doing the echocardiogram, and I also had the Medtronic engineer who was testing the pacemaker output functions, and the recipient, of course, then also checking it from the echocardiogram from the heart point. And there was no problem. And so Dr. Wolf said, go ahead, green light. And so I did, And so this experience really fostered a new life for me, a new path in my life, a new phase that has been ongoing. It's really, if you want to call it, my calling, caused by my son's situation, which seemed devastating, yet, time forward, it propelled that I would ultimately, over 20 years by now, touch millions of people's lives all over the world. Because of this story, I then studied naturopathic medicine, got my PhD in naturopathic medicine. My thesis was on chronic disease, and I focused on Lyme disease, which of course, is part of the fatigue syndrome. Unfortunately, besides the pains and everything else. So that is my story, and it was just amazing.
It is an incredible story, absolutely incredible. So thinking about this from the point of view of someone suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome or heavy fatigue-related condition, listening to you, when we're in those sort of states, there's all sorts of symptoms and all sorts of stuff going on, and people find it quite difficult to trust their bodies. They have a very dysregulated relationship with themselves in that sense. It can be very difficult. What advice would you give them about really being able to discern their intuition in that situation? How to begin to feel into what they really need to respond to?
That is a tricky question. It's difficult to put into words what I'd like to express, but I give my best. It is very hard when you don't have energy to do anything, It is very hard when you wake up and you're in this trance, in this it is a fog that you don't seem to break out of. And then you get so frustrated, followed by being depressed, being anxious. So I'm very sorry for all of you who have to go through this process, but I came up with this one little saying, which is in my book too: awakening from the stillness of illness. So when you are demobilized mentally, emotionally, physiologically, there is very little hope. So it is important that you do not give up, that you keep on searching for solutions, that you use your internet to the best possible situation in finding information, education, inspiration, to keep on listening to people around the world that you may connect with, that have something positive. And even if it's just after listening 5 hours to a podcast, that you may only walk away with one sentence, but that sentence is like an anchor. So you have to surround yourself, in other words, with good energy of people. And you have to face that which we call fear. And so even if you don't have the energy, well, you do it from your bed, you do it from sitting on a balcony, sitting on the grass. You make sure that you use nature as part of your solution, of your, this is your therapeutic solution. You ground, you touch your animals, you touch a tree, you touch your food. And even if you just make smoothies, maybe you want to change your nutritional intake and resort to indigenous, to your culture, medicines, plant medicine, and also become more of a plant eater. That doesn't mean you have to stop eating meat. That's not what I'm saying. While I am a vegetarian and primarily a vegan, that doesn't work for everyone. So I would recommend a few things, and that is, take a look at your nutrition and try to make it as wholesome as possible. Drink good quality water. Like I have my pitcher, and inside I put pieces of lemon that I wash, because the vitamins are outside. You can also scrape the lemon peel into the water. That gives you energy without having to rely on caffeine. It helps with detoxification processes. It's available, it's cheap. And so it's always best to use that which is available in your own backyard, so to speak. It is important to expose yourself to sun as much as you can, even if there's no sun. It's not about the sun radiation. And radiation is usually used in a bad connotation, but it's really, radiation is just an emission, whether it's good energy or bad energy. So it is important you expose yourself again to nature and have that which we call the, let's say, ultraviolet light touch your skin so that your liver can better produce vitamin D3. We have our studies show that globally, in those places where the sun shines the most and where it's warmest, this is where we have even more D3 depletion than in other places. When the UK, for example, I've been there several times, there's a lot of fog and a lot of rain, and sometimes that is more depressing, of course, because we're not getting enough of that, which I call the D3 producer helper. But just being out there, even if it rains, or especially when it rains, let the rain fall on your skin. And so you be part more of that which is natural around you.
Yes, yeah, so what I'm hearing, Silvia, if I can sum that up a bit, just to catch up and draw it together a little, what I'm hearing you say is that intuition is in part about really returning to the depths of ourselves as creatures, as interwoven with all these other creaturely and earthly systems, getting in touch with, in a sense, evolutionary wisdom in the body system and in the world, and really returning to the deep self as an earthling, as a being who lives on this planet, is part of this planet. That is a beautiful thing that I'm hearing in what you're saying. That and openness to positive messages, relationship with others, being aware of others, both kind of inputs around information, education, but also a kind of lovingness that is constantly being spoken to us from water, from plants, from trees, from the sun, from the wind, from the rain, from the ground, touching the skin. It's all very grounded, bodily, creaturely, this vision that you're giving of what we need to do to open up intuitively to health. Is that, have I got
Beautiful.
that?
Yeah, you really summed it up very beautifully, to get in touch with your innate wisdom. There is knowledge, there's brain wisdom, but then there is, and we're all trained. We are just a product of our society. It's all about brain. But that's not where the wisdom, the joy, the love is sitting. It is part of it. We need to uncondition ourselves. And sometimes that means you got to travel beyond that where you think you need to be. And that means travel in terms of distance. Maybe like I'm coming to you from Africa. I never planned to be in Africa, but it was a calling that that I listened to, and I didn't understand it. And you see, this life is not about understanding. It is a state of free flow. It's a flow state where you're just flowing, and the point is to help reduce suffering on the planet, and that's a reduction of suffering starts with yourself. And so being in touch with all of that, it will help you, as you said, to be in touch with, as I call it, the seed that you come with, that is waiting to be recognized and nourished. That seed is within all of us. And we are, it is okay to say, we're just another animal, because we are part of the animal kingdom. And so we don't have to strive so hard. We don't have to be so critical, and be judgmental. And we don't have to be with people that tell us how to live our lives, that want to influence us. We don't have to be on social media. We don't have to do all these things. It's a choice. Ultimately, that is a choice. And while I do believe in the illusion of free will, because everything is at random. And once you understand that you're not making decisions that form your life, because it's already in your genetics, maybe millions of years ago, of why it is that you're even listening to this podcast. So it takes the stinger out of wanting to be perfect, because that's an illusion, or wanting to be or creating a better self. Well, that's an illusion, because there is no self. There's only that one being, that's you. There's no separation. There shouldn't be any dualism.
Yeah, and I'm hearing there a lovely message about the real importance of just letting go into a deep sense of trust in life itself. Letting go of all the kind of clinging, the illusions, the contractions, really just letting go and flowing with those deepest intuitions that arise bodily but are more than bodily.
That's correct. It's not only physiologically, is really, for me, it's just where it's like that just came to my vision, so to speak, from the knowing. It's almost like you're writing a book, and that book is now being put into a movie. And then you see the actresses perform that which was written in a book. So in other words, it unfolds on the physiology, that which comes from your soul being mentally, emotionally expressed through your body. So once you understand that, it was back in the 19th century when Rudolf Virchow, he was a medical doctor in Germany who said that going forward in the field of medicine, the soul and spirit has no place in medicine. And he separated and said, this belongs to the church. What kind of nonsense is that? You see, the East never followed that. The Africans never followed that. That's just a downfall of, from an African perspective, of the Northern Hemisphere. That is the European and primarily also the North American. So, we've become so out of touch with ourselves that we're crying out from the inside. We don't have any joy in continuing the life that we've been living, and everything shuts down.
Yeah.
We become depressed. We don't have the energy, because even if we had energy, what would we be doing? The same thing over and over again? That's going to drive us insane. So that chronic fatigue is a message. The alarm went off, and your own clock, you set yourself and said, if I'm not awoken by such and such time in my life, I need to hear the alarm ring. And that ringing, in your case, may be fatigue.
Yes,
maybe
absolutely.
Depression.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it, to think of fatigue as, yes, it's uncomfortable, yes, it's suboptimal, etc., but it's deeply functional. It's a very deep message to the whole of contemporary society about the unsustainability and inherent destructiveness of the way we live, so separated from ourselves, so separated from others in the truly meaningful sense. And also the planet itself is being exhausted and depleted by the way that these values have been enacted. And so it's a wonderful moment, I think, at this point in the 21st century to really reflect on what it is that fatigue is saying. And as you said, the stillness that comes out of the illness is a place of deep transformation. I think it was Ashok Gupta who said in one of these interviews that he doesn't see ME, CFS and other forms of fatigue just as teachers. He sees them as transformers. And there's something really profound here. And I feel that people struggling with this are part of something far greater, something far richer that is taking place in the human consciousness at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost like you're driving alone and your car is just driving. The driver is inside, that's you, and you have no clue where the car is going. And then you're saying, you know what, screw this. I'm done with this nonsense. And you jump on the brakes. Well, that is your braking time. You now lay flat, sit still, to be in the stillness. And Eckhart Tolle wrote a beautiful book, Stillness Speaks. I listened to him 25 years ago. I listened to all the wonderful back in the North America. So I know what I'm talking about because I've been there myself. So you don't have to be there yourself. Not that I had chronic fatigue syndrome, but I wanted to transform. I had the desire to, and I'm ongoingly transforming because that's my desire to be part of the planetary evolutionary process. And by using instrumentations like Nikola Tesla's work. So if you don't know how to start this, well, listen, you want to listen to music? You want to start, even if you're just using and moving your vocal cords because you cannot move. But let me tell you, you will be able to move if you have something you want to move to. So dancing, very important. And then you may want to get yourself to a therapist that uses electromagnetism non-invasively to help you get started. That is the biggest thing, to help push that swing, it is essential that you have help as whether it's a life coach, whether it is, you know, people that massage you, you know, deep tissue, or to have aromatherapy, to smell, or to do a hot stone, which is amazing, to release tension, because that's part of the process. We got to detoxify, release tension, so that we can build better new cells, tissue, and replenish the fluids that have gone bad in our system. And so the on-demand technology, for example, is one that personalizes stimulation to help you get started, and you take it from there and you keep on swinging that swing, right? So it is so essential that you look for good gadgets and tools, not only the education of how I can transform myself and that which I call my perspective, but also to have helping hands, to have helping tools.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful insight to end on. Silvia, do you have a little gift for the audience members, like a link to something they can look at on demand or find out further information?
Yes, so because we distribute a medical device that is, of course, I can't give that away. I wish I could. And if there's a philanthropist out there that wants to help humanity, I mean, that is a wonderful way to help. It's like almost like giving away not just water, because that's limiting, but to help people dig for the water and have a pipe that is available in the community, so you can pump your own water. So the ornament is a lifetime investment into a community. So if you have just one ornament, I mean, millions of people can be under just a one device. There's no exploration. But what I can do is to provide education, where I go into the details of the electromagnetic field radiation, because there's the good, bad, and the ugly. And there's little toys and gadgets that we can use, or how to help in stopping the inflammatory process with honing in on what not to eat, you know, what inflames. Homeopathy, anthroposophy, traditional Chinese medicine, all covered in a link that we are making available to your viewers for free, so that you can listen to it. This is not to sell you an ornament. Of course, if you want to buy an ornament, wonderful. But this is for you to learn of what else is out there. What practitioners should you be looking for? Or should you be becoming your own practitioner first, just like Paracelsus said? He said, you know, everyone is their own physician. And that is correct, because every time you eat, it is medicine. And if you start thinking of it like this, you be very careful of what and when you put food and drinks into your body. So we're providing the link for free on themed.net. I'm sure you will be
yeah, we'll link it. We'll link
showing the link. binderinstitute.de, the website, yeah. And we'll be happy to share the knowledge, and I hope you also, all of you listeners, share it with those that you would know benefit from this information.
That is wonderful. Thank you. We will link that below the video, everyone, so you'll be able to get access to it and find out more about Silvia's work. Silvia, I want to thank you so much for a wonderfully stimulating conversation, and I know that people will have been, you know, really encountered things that they maybe not have encountered before, and that's really enriching and wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for all that you do, for reaching out, and blissful moments to all of you.